Here comes an example of the use of masses and adaptive families in Revit in the creation of this decoration or sun protection. I have started off this sample model from Revit. It can be done in every Revit model. So on the massing and side, I'll start up a in-place mass. First, I'll set the work plane to left side of what I create here. And I then create a reference line on this work plane, and I make sure that 3D snapping is turned on. I create a reference line with those 5 points as you see here, and I now want to copy this reference line so that I all in all have 4 reference planes on this facade. So I change the work plane to any kind of a floor, go to watch the building from the top view, and then I create this reference line 3 times, so I all in all have 4 reference lines. And they have now the same geometry, each reference line here, so I can adjust them individually, so I'll get a nice expression of this decoration or sun protection. Those reference points can be adjusted later. So I'll select the 4 reference lines and I then create form. So I'll get a mass. Now it's possible to select those individual reference points and adjust them in X, Y, and Z axis. This can also again be done later. I'm happy about the design for now, so that will be the design. I then divide this mass into surfaces, and again this can be adjusted later, so I say 30 in the U grid and 1 in the V grid. Then under surface representation, I'll add nodes to the grid so that later I can attach this framing to those points or nodes. So I finish my mass and I'll get a warning saying that there are no geometry for now, but that will be okay. So next step will be to create this framing, this adaptive family. So I'll start up a new family and create a metric generic model adaptive, or based on that family template. So again, I'll create a reference line and make sure that 3D snapping is turned on. I then create this reference line in 5 pieces, you can say. I then select the reference points and make them adaptive. So now I can create my geometry on those. I have 3 options to create this geometry on those 3 work planes, as you see here. So I'll create a model rectangle on that work plane, and I turn off 3D snapping, and then I'll create a shape. Again, the shape can be adjusted later. So I select the 4 lines and the reference line, and then I create a form. So now every point in this adaptive family is associated with this shape and can manually be attached to the geometry in our project. So I select those 5 adaptive points and set the orients to global set, and then I save this family, and I then load this into the project. So now the adaptive family is now in this project. Since I finished editing my mask before, I need to start up editing again. Then you'll find our adaptive component under component, and when we then draw on those points in this mass here, this will be attached to the geometry. And since it's adaptive, that's why we made it adaptive. It will be applied to all the reference points in this model. So I select my framing and say repeat, then it will be attached or repeated to the geometry. If I want to adjust the shape of my mass here, I can select the reference points and adjust the geometry. If I want to change the dimension of the framing, I can then edit the family and select the shape and change the dimension. So I select the generic model and say edit profile, and then I can change the dimension of this profile and then load it into the project again. So if you want to change where this framing is attached to the mass, what you can do is that you can select one of the framing and then say flip, then it will be placed on the inside of the geometry instead of outside.